Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We're going to continue our journey in learning just a little bit more of this amazing language every day. Last time we talked about 自强不息. It's about a self-motivational phrase that we heard a lot in Chinese, like when a parent to a child, or when a teacher to students, or motivational speakers to the audience, they most likely to hit this phrase 自强不息. It's about motivating yourself, make yourself stronger, keep that in you and not stop with it. But the English translation could be something like perseverance, and that's the value that's I guess universal. And today we are going to continue with 强人所难. So last phrase 自强不息, the 强 means strength. And this time, 强人强 becomes a verb. It means apply strength on somebody. So basically force somebody. Okay, so a review of this. This is a simplified version. The original writing is much more complicated with some farm field, border. So it's like country, agriculture, power, right? And then the left side is 弓, is our bow symbol, and that tied with some military force, right? Economic, military force, and then we have worms, like this soft-looking squiggly thing is our worm symbol, and they are on the ground, so they are the weak, the rude. So 强 in that original form really exhibit power over the weak, right? And here we only have the military. There we get rid of the economic one, and here is like a kind of like a hook, and then have worms dangling over it. So we can interpret it as like a by power, by force, or by something to hook you in, some bait, almost like trickery to get people into doing something. So this word could have that positive meaning of strength that comes if 自强 is come within your self strength, or it can have this a little bit negative connotation about forcing, either by force, like military or muscle power, or by tricking somebody into doing something. So that's 强. 人 is our almost like English letter R looking, but it's not connected. It has to be separated as to make sure this symbolizes like two legs of a person. 所, okay. 所 is a little bit abstract because when the concept like a what is like a container word, right? It doesn't have a direct pointer to object in reality. So it's an abstract concept. It's like a what. It's like a variable. So it's how the ancient language creators envisioned that. For language users, we definitely need sometimes that. It's like without specifying out what it is that we're talking about, we just use a what as a placeholder, right? So here, image-wise, there are two pieces, the left and right. Both are images, and one is considered a sound maker, the other one is meaning maker. But again, I like to view it both as meaning maker, so to try to make sense. The left side is pronounced as a who, and who is half of the door panel. So 门, like door, is two panels of this door opening panels, right? And who is half of it. So I guess it depends on what kind of door you have. It could be one door or two door opening. So I would picture that two door is like a bigger house, right, with two panel doors versus just one. But who is enough to mean that this is a household. From that one door panel, you can enter into a family. So that's often tied with our census. When we want to count how many households there are, we use this word who. And right side is jin. Like none of them sound like a soul, right? So you can say none of them are sound maker, but in reality, wow, in our imagined reality from the past of a language evolution, that sound evolved as well. Like even if it was paired and was used as a sound maker, in the case of like this left side actually was the sound maker, but the sound also evolved, so we cannot really tell it's a sound maker anymore. But the right side was originally assigned as the meaning maker, which from the symbol itself, it looks like this carving off of this piece from this main body. So imagine it was a full block, and now this piece was chopped off. So exactly chopping, that's the meaning from the beginning. So the two, like the sound hu somewhat changed, and the meaning jin combined together was used to be this depicting the sound of chopping, this axing something into pieces. That's the sound it was depicting. So I guess back then the axing down or chopping down things was a common activity, like in our contemporary life. Like who get a chance to hear an axe falling on a piece of log? We don't really, right? But back then it probably was a common one. So we need a word to depict that sound, and that sound is this character, and that character eventually becomes the meaning, because I would imagine as the urbanization, right, or as the civilization evolved, fewer and fewer people get to hear that axe falling on log sound. So this word already created for it got to be, used for something else. So now it becomes a container. Just tell people this is something we're talking about without specifying what that is. Okay, so force people what? Tough. This tough, 难, have a very concrete image over there. This is a bird. We can kind of see, right? This is kind of a feather, and this is the bird in flight with their feet, little feet dangling in the back, flying, like make it aerodynamic, right? And then this is the peak, the head, the eye even. So it's a side view of a bird in flight. And so this was a type of bird, and the left side was simply the sound maker together. It's a type of bird, and then eventually this bird probably, I don't know, go extinct or something. It was not commonly used anymore, or it was not that was as relevant to human life activities anymore. But this character again was created, and it got kept and reused, recycled, so to speak, to mean something else, more abstract meaning, and it becomes difficulty or tough. My interpretation would be, okay, a bird is hard to catch, probably compare with capturing a land animal or fish even. Bird, probably the hardest to catch because they're simply more agile and moves faster. So I would think the language creators would think it probably makes sense to use a type of bird, to mean difficult in relevance to human, dietary or praise, right? So force people what tough, that means coerce. Like for somebody, this is difficult. This is beyond reasonable, but it's forced on them. They still do it anyways. So I happened to came across this image that's current. It was published in New York Times, I think. They published this as a commentary of what's happening in China under the zero COVID policy. And we know COVID, we have habit this planet with COVID since 2000, and the behavior of COVID and the variety of COVID has been more and more known and experienced as part of life now globally, right? So we know that behavior of COVID or of airborne virus is like, it's really hard to catch, right? But over there, the politically correct way to carry out is zero COVID, as if COVID listen to you, the government, what to do or not to do. But of course, COVID is uncontrollable. What they can control is people. So they have this ridiculous rule of COVID test of not the home kit, test as your wish at your own leisure, your own place of choice, but you have to go on street to the COVID test pavilion or something like that, booth, right? And to get poked by somebody else into the back of your nose, and they have to do it. Depends on which city you live. Different local government have different policies. They may have to test every 1 day or every 2 days, because the cost of not being tested is you cannot go anywhere. Everybody on their cell phone have this COVID passport thing. If it's green, yes, you're good to go. If it's yellow, it means like you're kind of running short on your life or on your mobility to go anywhere. If it's red, you're immobile. You cannot go anywhere except to go do COVID test. So for you to like go grocery shopping or do actually anything in public space, you're forced to take this COVID test. And this is just one example of everybody forced. It becomes part of the routine. Imagine every 1 or 2 days you have to go there, and because it becomes a common practice, people have to stand in line and waiting for a long time, sometimes in bad weather conditions, in storms or in high heat summertime. People pass out while waiting, and imagine that the population is, a whole demographics, young as well as old people have to stand in line and get tested. And so this is kind of extreme measures to control COVID, but really like control people. So this zero COVID, according to the New York Times article, is like a show, a staged performance performed nationwide for just one person to see, which is, the head of the country who issued zero COVID, and everybody have to dance according to the tune of zero COVID. And I think that's a very good illustration of this concept of 强人所难. Okay, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day. See you another day.